Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I talk about the NWSL, women's soccer, just soccer, only soccer. If you hear a chainsaw outside, don't worry, they're just reenacting the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Anyway, the U.S. women's national team roster for the two upcoming friendlies against Colombia and the CONCACAF Women's Championship has dropped today. I wasn't expecting the roster to come out this week, mainly because I've been focusing on other things going on in women's soccer, like the NWSL, trying to figure out what's going on with France's women's national team, and preparing to cover Germany and England in the Women's Euros this July. I only found out yesterday that the U.S. women's national team roster was coming out. It's going to be very interesting to see who Vlatko has picked for this roster. I honestly have no idea. There are so many players who have been performing really well in the NWSL, including Alex Morgan, who is right now leading in goals with the San Diego Wave. Then there's Ashley Hatch, Ashley Sanchez, and Trinity Rodman. That attacking trio with the Washington Spirit is doing really well and would definitely help on the national team. I can probably guess a player or two, but even then, it's hard to say for sure who was picked or who has made it. Before I get into the roster, I do want to add there are many players currently out with injury, and there are some who are currently pregnant or had recently given birth. Lynn Williams and Sam Mewis are currently out with injury. Abby Dalkemper out with injury due to broken ribs. Kat Macario, ACL injury. Tierna Davidson out with injury. Crystal Dunn recently gave birth a couple weeks ago. Casey Kruger, I can't remember if she's still pregnant or had already given birth. I think I remember seeing something that said she had maternity leave, but yeah, she is out for now as well. Kristen Press, possible knee injury during a match over the weekend, but I haven't heard any more news on that. Megan Rapinoe, she's slowly coming back from an injury. According to Laura Harvey, she's still not at 100% fitness just yet. So far, those are all the players that I can remember off the top of my head. Anyway, let's get into the roster. So starting with the goalkeepers, Aubrey Kingsbury, Casey Murphy, and Alyssa Nair. Kingsbury has been a solid keeper with the Washington Spirit and has been doing very well. Casey Murphy, I love her as a goalkeeper. I actually wasn't expecting to see her on this roster because she's coming back from an injury, but she has gone back to starting again with the North Carolina Courage, which is awesome. Looking forward to big saves from her with the national team. Alyssa Nair also performing well with the Red Stars, and always great to see her on the national team too, since she does provide that experience for the goalkeepers. Now on to the defenders. Alana Cook, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, Sophia Huerta, Carson Pickett, Kelly O'Hara, Emily Sonnet, and Becky Sabran. Lots of young players in this back line. That was kind of the first thing that came to mind. I would say there's a nice balance of youth and experience. Kelly O'Hara and Emily Sonnet doing great with the Spirit right now. Happy to have Becky Sabran back. Alana Cook, solid defender, definitely one of my favorites. Very reliable and tough. Sophia Huerta, great defender, but also great at helping out in the attack as well. Emily Fox, another great and aggressive defender. And Naomi Girma, she has really impressed me in the NWSL so far. She does cause a lot of problems for the opposing team's attack, and I'm looking forward to seeing how she does with the national team as well. Definitely a player to keep an eye on. And for midfielders, Sam Coffey, Jalen Howell, Lindsay Horan, Taylor Korniak, Rose Lavelle, Christy Mewis, Ashley Sanchez, and Andy Sullivan. Another good balance between youth and experience. Good to see Jalen Howell back. Sam Coffey is going to be interesting to watch. Lindsay Horan is back on the national team after winning the Champions League and the D1 League with Leon's women's team. Rose Lavelle and Christy Mewis, great to see them as well. Ashley Sanchez, I love her on the national team because she is usually all over the field. Pair her with Andy Sullivan and her Washington Spirit teammates, and you got something in terms of connection and chemistry. Lastly, Taylor Korniak. I remember her from the Orlando Pride last season, and now she's with the San Diego Wave and doing great. This is the first time she's getting called up to the national team, and that's very exciting. Definitely another player to watch, especially since one of Korniak's teammates has also been called up as a forward to the national team. That being said, let's get into the forwards. Forwards, Ashley Hatch, Alex Morgan, Mallory Pugh, Midge Purce, Megan Rapinoe, Trinity Rodman, and Sophia Smith. I love this. Ashley Hatch and Trinity Rodman. There's that connection in the midfield with Andy Sullivan and Ashley Sanchez, but also in the defense with Emily Sonnet and Kelly O'Hara. Alex Morgan, Taylor Korniak's teammate on the San Diego Wave, currently leading in goals in the NWSL. Mal Pugh, always great to see her, last seen carrying the Chicago Red Stars. Midge Purce, able to play as a forward, but can also help out in the defense when it's needed. Sophia Smith, great footwork, killing it with the Thorns, and is so good at getting around defenders. Hopefully she can grab some more goals. Megan Rapinoe, I honestly wasn't expecting her to get called up because I figured since OL Reign and Laura Harvey were being cautious about her recovery and her playtime, Flacco wouldn't want to risk choosing her. But I guess as long as she's not going a full 90, she should be all right. Overall, I think this is a great selection of players. We finally have some of our veteran forwards back, and I think that should provide some stability in the midfield and attack and also help with finishing. I think I said before that the US team needed to work on finishing, but so does other national teams like England and Germany. Yeah, I like this roster. It's a good balance between newer and veteran players. I'm especially interested in how the backline is going to hold up since so many of our experienced defenders like Tierna Davidson, Casey Kruger, Crystal Dunn, Abby Dalkemper are currently out at the moment. But at the same time, this is going to be great experience for the newer defenders. On the upside, Becky, Kelly, and Sonnet are going to be there to support the newer defenders as well. It's going to be very interesting and fun to see how this team holds up in these friendlies against Colombia and against the teams in the CONCACAF Women's Championship. As I mentioned earlier, the U.S. Women's National Team will be taking on Colombia in 2 friendlies. The first is Saturday, June 25th at 7:30 p.m., and the second is June 28th at 10 p.m. Then after that, the U.S. team will be moving on to the CONCACAF Women's Championship, which also doubles as qualifying for the 2023 Women's World Cup and the 2024 Paris Olympics. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today or tonight, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.